Well, fellas, you know what time it is. Kamen Rider Zeztz. I will admit, I am posting this. I'm posting this a few days after I'm making it. So if new information does come out between me making this and this video releasing, I'm terribly sorry. I'll have to make another video, but I'm working on a somewhat tight schedule right now. So you're gonna have to deal with this. But that being said, episode 15. Lighten, and you're going to see why that's such a great episode title for this particular one. But where does this episode begin? Well, if you can't tell by the screenshot, we basically begin where episode 14 ended with Nox GTFOing out of this particular dream. Meanwhile, over in the real world, Minami is still waiting for Baku to wake up, not ready to leave his bedside. Back in the dream world, Baku confronts Zero about what code is really meant for. And all this dude says is, it's made for world peace. That ain't suspicious, not at all. And we get a quick little establishing shot that, yep, he's still stuck in the nightmare. And much like how Baku last week went on a journey reliving his first bad nightmare, we see the same thing for Nox back when he was agent number 4, or as he's on a mission that's quickly going sideways, to the point where the Night Invoker is actually destroyed, which is the state we find it in back in like episode 10 or something, when we first see the Night Invoker. As he tries to call Zero for backup, but all Zero can manage is, no buddy, you're not getting backup, you're screwed, you gotta do this yourself. And Nox, back in the day as number 4, or Odaka, thinks to himself, oh shit, I'm a disposable agent. And as our Nox is looking back, this shadowy nightmare from last week returns as he tries to stop it from attacking his past self, only to find himself back in the school. Then we get the intro. And over in Baku's little secret headquarters, we see him place down the phone, meaning that Zero can't contact him, which is rather interesting and leads to a very interesting question of what happens now. As he goes downstairs to further press him on the existence of other agents and stuff, in which we just get a little bit more stabilization of why code even exists. And then the damn capsule machines are brought back as Baku cranks it like 20 times to re-pull all of the formerly broken capsules. Except for recovery, he only has barrier here. At least it looks like he only has barrier here. So that kind of makes me wonder, where is recovery? Does Nox still have it, and is he gonna give it back? Who knows? However, Zero also explains that now Zeztz has earned the use of the booster capsule, the capsule that's actually responsible for powering the Zero Rider, aka the robot that Zero is piloting. Because yes, in case you forgot, Zero isn't actually a sentient robot. He's just a piloted drone by the real Zero. And here it is, a nice glittery white, which I kind of like. Over in the real world, Fujimi and his little detective assistant here press the family that saw the lightning in the sky from last week about what happened. And we get a cute little reference to the fact that this episode is airing around Christmas time. Because, yeah, by the time this video should go live, Christmas would be like in 2 days, but as I'm making this, it's still like a week away. Anyways, back to the episode at hand. Over again in the dream world, we see Nox contemplating on his nightmares in this like log cabin-y looking area. As Nim comes to confront him, and we find out that Nox's nightmare is darkness, both literal darkness and the metaphorical darkness of code, which is actually a rather interesting nightmare. Basic, but still interesting with how interesting the other nightmares have been so far. But to presumably Probably now knowing more about Odaka and Nox in general, Baku breaks into the dream version of his old school to find Nox's mind door. As he and him decide to go through it to end this nightmare once and for all. Nox immediately tries to get the thrown hands. And Baku immediately straps up ready to kick some ass. And Nox does the same with the Night Invoker. Only for Baku to say that he's not here for Nox. Though he hates nightmares, dreamers do nothing wrong. And in this case, Nox is a dreamer. Meaning that Zero, or keep on saying Zero because his name comes out quicker. Which means Baku is going to transform into Zeztz to finally defeat Nox's nightmare. So, it's time to put that shit on. As another explosion of lightning shoots out. And if you can't tell on this screenshot, Baku is the shadow on the left side, with the nightmare being the shadow on the right side. Now, if you ask me, I personally hadn't seen it up to this point, but many people noted that the designs of the nightmares, particularly ones like the Bomb Nightmare and a few others, looked a lot like past Kamen Riders in both color scheme and design. This is the first time I'm really seeing it, because to me, this feels a lot like a reference to Kamen Rider Kiva, with these chains and these eyes that kind of look a bit glassy, a bit like the stained glass motif of Kiva. And in general, he has like a few other things that just make me go, okay, yeah, I can kind of see how that's a reference to Kamen Rider Kiva. I don't think it's true, but it's just something to note. We have this really, really beautiful shot of the plasma suit like lighting up, and oh, the visuals for this show are so good. So naturally, because we're transformed and this is an action show, we start getting a lot of really good fight footage. And over in the real world, the two detectives react to a crackle of energy in the sky, noting that that must be wherever this nightmare is located. And presumably, because last they talked about it, he was trying to fight Nox, aka Odaka, they assume that's kind of maybe where he is. But the plasma form starts losing its power because, again, it's a very unstable form. And on top of that, the nightmare sees the opening to go for Nox, only for Zeztz to transform into barrier form and protect Nox, which is great. I didn't think he would be doing this quite yet, hot swapping between forms. Yet, I guess now, because we've debuted enough of them and we had enough time, we can start hot swapping forms now. As he also switches into gravity temporarily, and then temporarily into impact form, only to find himself back at Plasma to try and finish off this monster. Meanwhile, in the real world, the two detectives come across this camp in the woods, where, if you notice, those log cabins kind of look familiar. You'll see why. Back in the dream world, though, once again, Plasma starts losing its energy. So, Baku does the only natural thing, boosts that shit, as he just throws the booster capsule right on into the belt, and starts transforming into such a beautiful suit. The promo shots did not do this form justice. It is actually pretty sweet. I like it a lot. I like base Plasma more, but this is still pretty good. As of now, it's my number 2, but that could very easily change. I can't do this finisher justice, by the way. You have to go watch this finisher, because by my God, it is one of, if not the most beautiful finishing moves in like Rider history. Seriously, I cannot do this thing justice, because they do this really cool thing where there's like this after image effect of like the triple Z's and him doing the Rider kick, and ooh. But with the mission being complete, we see the Nightmare Butterfly escape from Nox's little dream. Meaning, I'm sorry. as we get a quick little exchange between Baku and Nox, where Baku questions him on why he did what he did. It's great, I'll leave it at this. And he explains, throwing Zetz's own words back into his face, that he can't hate the agent, only the agency. As he drops his ring, walking off into somewhere else, as Baku also ends up walking off somewhere else, as Odaka Keisuke wakes up in one of those cabins, and at the same time, Baku finally wakes up from his long dream, where he and Minami share a very sweet moment, finally reconnecting after probably 3 or 4 days in their universe. Meanwhile, speak of reunions, Fujimi and his detective assistant pull up onto the cabin that they presume has Odaka in it. And the reunion goes a little sideways as Odaka puts a gun into Fujimi's back, only to disappear behind a door using the power of the erase capsule to, again, GTFO out of there. Leaving Fujimi screaming into the door for his old partner to come back. Now, I won't be showing you this person's face. All you need to know is they're the big bad, and they're talking about finally creating a world without code, as we presumably see the nightmare, home world or something, as Nox joins our big bad. Because this is the end of Zetz's first arc. Yep, you heard me right. 15 episodes in, we are finally finishing the first arc of the series, which feels so surreal to say, because watching it week to week versus binging it leaves a very different impression of when certain arcs finish. But yeah, that's the episode. We're introduced to our big bad finally, as we head into the next arc. And I will say this, there will be no Zeztz episodes video the rest of the year. And that is because, as tradition, the shows will take a break for New Year's, and the show will start back up again on January the 4th. So, this is kind of like my goodbye to Zeztz for the year. Overall, this was definitely a high note to end it on. Getting this paired with the last one, getting our main characters' backstories, both the main hero and the main antagonist, plus being introduced to the biggest of bads, and introducing Code as kind of an evil organization too, leaves this show in a very interesting spot to pick up next year, and I cannot wait for it. But that being said, if you'd rather not get spoiled on next week's episodes, leave your thoughts and opinions below. Let me know, did you enjoy this episode or did you not enjoy it? But for those who stayed, let's talk about the episode that will be airing in January. So, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't quite catch what next week's mission is gonna be. But from the general previews, we can't tell that it's going to be obviously a New Year celebration episode in which Nem gets kidnapped, and Baku's mission is presumably to recover her. We also get a total bit of misleading fans, in my opinion, because there's a moment where Zero tells a person that they betrayed the organization, as this clip of him and Baku face off. And I totally don't think this is Zero talking to Baku. I think this is actually Zero talking to Nox, who we will see why in a couple minutes. But it's a great bit of misdirection, honestly. And, speak of, Nox becomes a Kamen Rider next week. Oh boy, I cannot wait. And here's just a quick little glimpse at his suit. And here's a quick little glimpse at his belt. Now, keen-eyed people will notice in the preview, if you go to the link down below for the on-demand version of the episode, in this preview, you can actually tell he's not fighting Baku, he's fighting Zero, which is where I think that earlier line from this whole preview comes into play. And also, here's a poster for Zetz's second arc, which episode 16 will officially start. As we can see here, we have Baku highlighted with the number 7 in his plasma form, as well as Kamen Rider Nox, noted with the number 4, and 3, seemingly not knights, similar to Nox Knight, marked with numbers 3, 5, and 6, plus 0 over in the corner, marked with number 0. So far, from numbers 0 to 7, we're only missing Agents 1 and Agents 2. So, oh boy. Zetz's second arc is going to be very interesting, introducing a lot of new characters and a lot of new pseudo-riders. Plus, obviously, Kamen Rider Nox himself. And on top of all of that, we obviously have Baku's story. So, this arc will be one of the more complicated things to probably cover soon. But I cannot wait to see. And I have a personal theory that the main villain, who, we just saw their face, even though I didn't show you, I believe they are one of these knights. Specifically, I'm thinking it's either going to be knight number 3 or knight number 6. Well, agent number 6 or agent number 3. Only because 3 appears to be the leader of this group right here. But I kind of like the idea that it's Zetz's immediate predecessor that becomes the big bad of the show. But that being said, again, man, I love this episode. The lore reveals were pretty great. And the action was even better, giving us more of what last week had, but in spades. And as a Christmassy episode, it wasn't the most Christmassy thing. Like, we only got one little joke about Christmas and, like, nothing else. So, yeah, I don't know how to feel about that. But, just as is, ignoring the fact that this takes place around Christmas time in the universe, damn, this was a good one. Overall, in my rankings, this has to get a 7 out of 10. And the only reason it's not like an 8 or a 9 is just because this episode, I mean, I liked it, yes, but the exposition was kind of a lot at certain points in this episode, and that's what really dragged it down. It felt a little more exposition-y, and I would have preferred a bit more, like just a bit of a change around to the general way some of the things played out. But overall, this is still one of the better episodes. And so, yeah. So to everyone who decides to stay, once again, leave your thoughts and opinions down below. Did you like this episode? Did you hate it? Were you like me and kind of wish this was more of a Christmassy episode and less of a die-hard situation where it just happens to take place during Christmas? Any and all opinions are welcome. And this might be my final video of not only this month, but of this entire year. That being said, thank you all for watching these videos throughout these past couple months. I know I'm trying to improve every time I do one of these. And, yeah, here's hoping that 2026 is good, not just for you, the viewers, but for this channel as a whole and media in the future. And I will see you all next year.